Assalamu alaikum. I'm Dr. Shakila and I'm explaining the buccal and lingual aspects of maxillary first molar on diagrams. Unfortunately, I don't have models today. I'll try to get the models from museum tomorrow and I'll re-explain these surfaces on models. So this one is the buccal aspect of maxillary first molar. The shape of the buccal aspect is trapezoidal with the longer side at the occlusal. The mesial outline is straight from cervical line to contact area, which is at the junction of occlusal and middle third, while the distal outline is convex from cervical line to the contact area, which is in the middle third of the crown. The cervical line is only slightly curved towards the root apex and it always have a less depth of curvature than the cervical lines of the premolars, and there is a sharp dip just occlusal to the furcation point. The occlusal outline is divided into two portions by a buccal groove. This buccal groove originates on the occlusal surface and it runs on the buccal surface. Here in the middle third of the crown, it either ends in a pit or it just fades or it divides into two branches which later on fades. The two portions of the occlusal outline are these two portions. One is the mesobuccal cusp and its two cuspal ridges, mesial cuspal ridge and distal cuspal ridge, and the distobuccal cusp and its two cuspal ridges, the mesial cuspal ridge and the distal cuspal ridge. The mesobuccal cusp is always larger and a bit longer than the distal buccal cusp, which is sharper. Sometimes the height of these two cusps are the same. Now come to the features inside the crown. If we divide this crown horizontally into three portions or thirds, this one is the occlusal third, the middle third and the cervical third. So in cervical third there is a horizontally running convexity which is called buccocervical ridge, and this buccocervical ridge is always more prominent in the mesial half of the crown. The middle third of the crown is flat or slightly concave, while the occlusal third has two vertical convexities. These are the buccal cuspal ridges of the mesobuccal and distobuccal cusp, and in between these two convexities there is a concavity which contains this buccal groove and which divides the two cusps. The height of contour of the buccal surface is in the cervical third. Now come towards the lingual surface. The lingual surface is also trapezoidal in shape. Its mesial and distal outlines are the same as were on the buccal surface. The cervical line is again only slightly curved towards the root apex and is a bit straighter, while the whole lingual surface is convex both mesodistally and occlusocervically. Just like the buccal surface, there are no flattening or concavity in the middle third and this buccocervical ridge. Instead, the lingual surface is just like a ball. It's convex in all dimensions, and there are the two cusps. This one will be a bit larger, which is the mesiolingual cusp, and the smaller one is the distolingual cusps, and we can see the portion of the distobuccal cusp from the lingual aspect because the distobuccal cusp is longer than the distolingual cusp, and this distal outline shape is similar to the distal outline of the buccal surface, but it is shorter because the distolingual cusp is shorter or smaller than the distobuccal cusp. There is a lingual groove which is called sometimes distolingual groove because this is mesial and this is distal. This is called distolingual groove because it is just a distal from the midline. It's not in the midline because the mesolingual cusp is larger than the distolingual cusp, and the height of contour of the lingual surface is here in the middle third. And this mesolingual cusp has a small cusp over here which is called cusp of Caravelli, and the cusp of cerebelli is separated from the mesolingual cusp by a groove which is called cusp of cerebelli groove. And the occlusal portion is also just like the occlusal outline is also just like the occlusal outline of the buccal aspect, that it has two cuspal ridges, mesial and distal cuspal ridges of the mesolingual and mesial and distal cuspal ridges of the distolingual cusps. Of four cusps, the mesolingual cusp is larger and longer. The second one, like the first, is the mesolingual cusp in size. The second one is the mesiobuccal cusp. Then is the distobuccal cusp, and the distolingual cusp is the smallest. Thank you.